gonna get into it soon. I have the IMDb page and I have the Rotten Tomatoes here. But first, I'll just get into it. I love the video game. The movie's alright. Then you didn't recommend the movie then. Yeah, the movie is, I would say that it's okay. I didn't love it, honestly. This isn't my genre. But okay, let's just get into it. So Max Payne from 2008, starring Mark Wahlberg, also known as Marky Mark, is based on a video game series which I have not seen. But it's I should also say this is the beginning of the review, so it's easier for me to cut it into one chunk later. But yeah, Max Payne is based on a video game series that I've never played. I guess it's a crime game. Rice Ice Baby, you know better than me. But it's like I'm assuming it's like kind of like the movie, like you're a cop trying to figure out this mystery. But I don't know. I'm not looking too deep into the games. We're just gonna talk about the movie because that's all I know. That's what I've seen, and I'm going to treat it just like a movie, a standalone film, not an adaptation, even though that's what it is. But 5.3 out of 10 is what it gets on IMDb. And yeah, the main plot is Max Payne, his wife and kid were killed, and they can't find out who it is. It's basically a big mystery. There's some interesting things about this, but it is basically just try to find out who done it. Sort of murder mystery movie with some twists and turns, sure, but it is that genre, and it's not that exciting to me. It was fine, but it was just kind of boring. Some of the shots are really good, but there's just a little bit too much CGI for some of it. Like, there's so many shots with the CGI snow, and it's like, I get it, you're trying to make a mood, but it just looks weird and not real at times, and maybe that's sort of the point. Like, they're obviously trying to be stylistic with it and make it look maybe like the games, but again, I don't know. I haven't played the games, but I feel like that might be sort of what they're trying to do with it. And yeah, I have notes about it, so we'll really get into it in a bit. But that's the basic plot. There's this drug that people take that's made by this pharmaceutical company that Mark's wife used to work for. And all these people are taking this drug, and then they see these things that are like Valkyries or Dark Angels or something along those lines, and then they like, it's weird, but this part's kind of cool because it's something at least a little bit different, where they take the drug and then they can see these creatures, and then the creatures like either kill them or protect them, and it's based on Norse mythology. They explain it sort of kind of anyway, but the question I ask is like, does the drug make you see these things? Like, do they actually exist? Or is it just a hallucinogen? Or is this drug supposed to be tapping into, like, your actual, what you're seeing? Like, it's waking you up to reality. Is that the point? Because that's not made clear. That's something I would like to be made a little more clear. But, yeah, 5.3 out of 10 is what IMDb gives it. That's honestly the ballpark of what I would give it. Because I don't think it deserves below 5. I treat ratings like a school project. Like, if you get below 50, or a test. If you get below 50, then you failed, and it's a shit movie. But this is okay, right? So it's gonna be like somewhere in the 50s for me anyway, or 5s, or whatever you want to call it. Mila Kunis is in it. She's good. The cast is good. Ludacris is in it. I have no problem with Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin. I didn't even notice that, but that's funny. Played Robin in Batman and Robin. Everyone loves that movie, right? But Beau Bridges plays BB. Let's go down to see the box office information. There is any box office information, and there is. Oh, this actually did all right. Like, not crazy good. It sort of sets it up for a sequel too. So I'm wondering. I don't think it got one, but I guess this wasn't quite good enough to get a sequel. Budget $35 million, gross $87 million. So that's pretty good. Gross worldwide. That's not bad. Like, they made their money back, and then some. So that's nice. Over double their budget back. So it could have been a lot worse. So yeah, that's the box office information. Let's look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. And I think I looked at it earlier. It's rough. 15% for the critic score. That's a little harsh. I think that's a little too. Also, the audience score is 29%. People are not loving this movie on Rotten Tomatoes. Critics consensus. Well, it boasts some stylish action, and yeah, there's some some of the action scenes are really cool. I'll give it that. I think people were disappointed by it not being like the video game. Okay, there you go. That's fair, and I get that. I just don't know the video game, so I can't compare it. But you know me, I don't play anything past like 2001 for the most part. There's been exceptions, but that's usually my cutoff for what games I play. Typically, like I said, there's exceptions. So let's read some of these reviews. This is a negative review. John Moore directs the hell out of the action. I agree, the action scenes are good. While Jonathan Sela's glistening photography captures the snow and rain that fall on these bloody New York streets, but you have to be on crack not to guess the surprise finale. Yeah, it's maybe a little predictable for this kind of genre, the whodunit genre. What are you saying, Race Race Baby? The video games aren't great, but they are cool detective series, and they are a lot of style. And that makes sense then to a certain extent with, that was probably what they were trying to do to link them together, was make it look stylistic and make it look gritty. Maybe the look is like the game. Again, I don't know. I'm just speculating. But Mark Wahlberg's titular hero hasn't cracked a smile in 7 years. The surprise is that he makes the lonely cop seem half human with a half a dozen words and a staggering amount of violence. That's a good review from a top critic. This is another negative one. The film combines ferocious self-importance with lashings of really nasty reflective violence. And you know what? I get that point. They're saying that it's based. There's a lot of like talking about Mark Wahlberg being, he's the main character, so he's going to be the focus of the film. But I actually like the violence is one of the best parts. So I maybe actually do disagree with this, because I like the action is one of the best parts of the movie. But there's not that much of it, and it's all very cliche action movie, but at the same time, it's a little different because they're combining with there's a lot of suspense, there's talking, but there's also action. And when the action hits, it hits pretty well, I've got to say. So that's the end of that, of me looking at the Rotten Tomatoes and the IMDb pages. But now let's look up my notes that I sent myself via email for Max Payne. So this is something that happened near the beginning. It's Max is trying to find who killed his wife. Obviously, that's like the main point of the film. But the classic cliche. This is in too many movies. I reviewed the last movie I reviewed last week. One of the movies I reviewed last week. Ready or Not did that. Although I really liked that movie, it did that too. Where they get too close with the fucking gun. It's like, obviously, when you get close, you know what's going to happen. He's going to grab it, and they're going to start fighting. Like, you have a gun. Just shoot him. Why doesn't he just shoot him and take the watch? That's part of the beginning, too, is Mark Wahlberg has this fancy watch. He's in the subway station, and these guys come to go beat him up in the washroom. And they want his watch, but they don't. Just shoot him and take, like, it would have been so easy. It doesn't make any sense. 3 years on the streets is a lifetime. There's no way whoever you're looking for is still out there. That's something that's said to Marky Mark in this club. Again, the whole movie, I don't think I need to keep saying this. He's always just trying to find out who killed his wife. That's the point of the movie. But the reason I wrote this as a note is because I was wondering, like, well, he's saying there's no way whoever you're looking for is still out there, but how do you know? He might be. Like, I thought that was a weird line. But Luke, okay, and yeah, this is a character that they show more later, and so it sort of makes sense, but this is still pretty weird to me, so I kept this note in here. Lupino, which is one of the villains you see in the film, he's sort of like the drug lord. He has all this blue drug that makes you see these angels or whatever the fuck. And he's just like heavily breathing in this club in this back green laser room. I call it a green laser room because there's green lasers shooting around, and he's just staring like and heavily breathing and looking at Marky Mark, and it's like, okay, would he really do that? That seems a little like a weird choice. It's like, I think there was a better way to introduce this character. It just felt a little weird to me. But yeah, that part was weird. Lupino awkwardly staring at Marky Mark in the weird green laser room was my note for that one. Too much CGI at times. And yeah, sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And it works when they, I especially like the top views, but there's other good shots. And the cinematography is relatively well done in this. But yeah, it's just when there's all that, so many shots of the bad CGI snow, and maybe but the time was good, but I've made CGI snow in After Effects, and so I just know, I was like, okay, look, it doesn't look real, and also we live in Canada, or I'm speaking for myself, but and Connor too, Rice Baby, we live in Canada, so we know what snow looks like, and it just doesn't look good, but again, it's sort of, I get why, it's stylistic, maybe they're trying to make it look like the video game, like I already said. But other times the CGI looks good, sometimes it doesn't look good, and that's the way it is in a lot of movies. He won't stop for anything, even a pee break, until he finds out who killed his wife. I gotta find out who killed my wife. Who killed my wife? That's basically the movie. There's a lot of bad snow in the game too. Okay, so maybe it's that's why they did it, maybe. But still, it was distracting. It's unnecessary for the film, in my opinion. But maybe they needed it because you said a lot of people were mad that the movie wasn't much like the film. So like, let's put the snow in, and that's enough. That makes it enough like the game. But yeah, I don't know. And this isn't a very big nitpick or a little nitpick, however you want to look at it. But there's a part where Mark Wahlberg crosses the street. He jaywalks to go see his cop friend, and he like goes in front of cars and stuff. I was like, I get that he's like the bad boy cop or whatever, but you know, jaywalking ain't good. Really, he's gonna jaywalk? I guess all he cares about is finding out who kills his wife. So yeah, it's sort of a nitpick, but it's like, you know, fuck this guy for jaywalking. Obey the law. You're a cop. But anyway, all the snow, baby. Let it snow. Let it snow. He doesn't notice his wallet until he sees it at the crime scene. Okay, yeah, this is weird. So one of the first murders is this Natasha character who Marky Mark meets at this club, and then he takes her home again just to ask her questions because he wants to find out who killed his wife, like is the theme of the movie. But she takes his wallet, and he doesn't even notice that his wallet is gone until his cop buddy was like, hey, your wallet was found at the scene of this crime where this woman has been killed. And so it makes sense to a certain extent because then they think he murdered him. That sets up the other part of the plot where the cops are trying to stop Marky Mark. But it still is like, I still think he would have been like, okay, where's my wallet? Like, you wake up, what's one of the first things you think? I need my wallet, I need my keys, I need my phone. And he doesn't do that. And so I think that's a little weird. Why does Max go into the alley and immediately draw his gun? Oh yeah, that's the part where he's going, I guess, because it's not explained. Like, there is danger, but how does he know that, like, he's immediately going to find shit in this alley? It's not explained. And why is he walks backwards just so Mila Kunis can come up behind him and be like, oh, I got you. But, like, walking backwards into a dark alley makes no sense. So at least doesn't make any sense to me. The first thing he thinks when he wakes up is, where's the man who killed my wife? Yeah, that's it. You're right. That's a good point. That's a good point, Rice Baby. Milk kind? I might have admitted a typo here. Milk kind is wants to ask questions, but immediately starts beating. Oh, I meant to write Mila Kunis. That's what that means. Mila Kunis wants to ask questions, but immediately starts beating up Marky Mark. And yeah, this is another sort of trope, but you can sort of understand what they're trying to do. Like, she's so mad, she wants to find out who killed her sister, who's Natasha, who we talked about, who died near the beginning of the film. And so she's trying to get answers from Marky Mark, but he's like gonna answer, and she's like just like hitting him and not giving him a chance to answer. And that always annoys me in movies. Like, I get why they're doing it. They're trying to show this person's tough, but it's like, if you really want the information, you'll fucking let them talk. But anyway, I digress. Let's keep talking about this movie. Something unrecognizable is said by the guy that Lupino drips drugs into the mouth. Yeah, there's a part, I just couldn't make up this line. It sounds like he's saying something in the eyes, but, you know, it's a nitpick, but still, I want all the dialogue to be understandable, you know, of course. Endgame is unclear with Lupino feeding drug. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. He's, like, feeding him the drug, and then he smashes him on the ground, and then and then he just kills him. Like, I don't get, why didn't you just kill him first? Why'd you do all this shit with the drug? And, like, smashing it on the ground and, like, making him drink it off the floor. I don't get it. But I guess that's the point, is that he's crazy, right? So he's gonna do this shit. So maybe that's why. But still, seemed a little weird to me. There's some nice shots. I've already said that, but it's true. There's some really good cinematography in this. Some of it works with the style that has been used in this film, which is very CGI heavy. And I noticed there is some practical shit. And we'll get to that. I have that as a note later, and we'll get to that. But okay, and good motivation. We've already talked about the motivation, but I guess, like, it's generic to a certain extent. But I don't know, compared to other shit, it's pretty hardcore. His son and wife has been murdered, and he's trying to figure it out. Not the worst motivation. It's simple and cliche, but it works. Max can just go in the crime scene house. How long is a police tape supposed to be here? Okay, so he goes into the house with the police tape around it. That was his house. And this is supposed to be like 7 years later. And what I am really curious about is, wouldn't it have been cleaned up by now? Like, wouldn't they have gotten, like, I know that the case isn't solved yet, but wouldn't they have gotten all the information they need from the crime scene, put it into evidence, and then put it into the cold case files or whatever? It doesn't make any sense to me that the house is still under wraps with the caution tape after 7 years, and Max is just like going in and having flashbacks so we can see what happened. But so I get why they did it, but he could have just had those flashbacks somewhere else instead of him walking in this house that I don't think he should be in, even though it was his house, but it's got police tape in. So, and again, for 7 years, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, I've said what I needed to say about that. Moving on. Action sequence in the office is over the top and cliche, but undeniably well put together. Basically what I've already said, which is the action is really good in this movie. That's one of the redeeming factors, I'd say. And this is a scene that you see in a lot of other things, but this is like really well choreographed. It looks really cool, with like Max having just pistols and all these SWAT team members are trying to shoot him down. He's running, all this glass is breaking. Classic sort of scene, but just shot really well and well done. I can't lie. I really liked that part. I feel like Lupino could have still stabbed Max even though he got shot. So there's a point where Lupino is about to kill Max. He's got the knife. He's about to go into his heart. And then his buddy shoots him. Shoots Lupino. Max's buddy shoots Lupino. And there's a moment where he's going like, I feel like he could have finished the job. Just real quick. Just like, you shot me, but I'll take you with me. I feel like he could have done that, but he didn't. And he just like drops the knife and falls down. But the way he was playing it, just also, it's in the way that I think the world works, dude. I think he had that little bit of time. He could have done it. It wasn't like he got shot a bunch of times. It was one shot, and then he could have stabbed, but he didn't stab. But you know, obviously we gotta keep Max Payne alive because it's the fucking Max Payne movie. But let's look at more of these notes here. We read that. Weird edit and weird way to reveal who done it. So yeah, there is. I'm not gonna reveal. I'm not gonna spoil this. Even though I said I saw the twist coming, and I think you probably would too, but let's just leave it at me trying not to spoil it at least. There's just a weird edit. They show up this picture of the person who did it real quick and they go back to the flashback and and just the way that it's edited and put together, it's so quick and it feels so shabby compared to a lot of the rest of the film. So I could have done without that, or they could have just done it better. Like, I think that part's necessary, but it just could have been done better. But what do you think is going to happen when you unlock Max's handcuffs? So there's a part where they're trying to kill Max, put him in the river or whatever, and they're trying to frame him by putting the drugs in his pocket. And, like, I get that they have to get the handcuffs off in some way so that it can look like it's suicide because they're trying to frame him for suicide. But I would do that last. Like, get ready to get him in the water and do it. But they did it like first. Like, let's get the handcuffs off you. Let's put this thing in here. But so the order doesn't make sense. Like, if they were smarter, they would have just really streamlined it and got him in the water and not have to worry about him breaking free. Because, of course, that's what fucking happens. It had to, I guess. Again, it's the Max Payne movie. He can't die. They got to keep it going. It seems weird that Max gets his head above water and then immediately conks out as he goes back down. It is weird. I think that because they have him come back later the second time, but there's a part where he's in this icy water and you can tell he's struggling, but then he gets his head above water. He's like, okay, cool. But then he conks out and you're like, okay, we could have just skipped that opening part and just gone straight to that, and then we could have seen him. We just need to see him get revived once, because there's like 2 moments of him like being still in the water, and it just could have been cut quicker. There could have been less, so we could have saved time. This movie drags a little bit too as part of it. It's like an hour and 45 minutes, and that's not like the longest movie of all time or anything, but it's just a little longer than it needs to be, in my opinion. And what else we gotta say here? Some practical effects. So yeah, there's a part with like a car falling down. There's some things that I noticed. I was like, okay, that's an actual effect. They actually had to destroy a car for that shot, and I appreciate and respect that. So gotta give credit for at least using some practical effects, although there is too much CGI in a lot of parts, in my opinion. And some of it's necessary, like showing the angels or whatever, the Valkyries, whatever. I get that. That's the kind of thing that you kind of need to use CGI for. But all the CGI snow and shit can fuck off, in my opinion. I get it that they're trying to make it look like the game, but still. And because at the end, he commits so many crimes. Like so many crimes to do the right thing still, but they don't show that he went to prison. I think he did, but they don't show that he had to go to jail. I think he should have had to. He killed like so many innocent bystanders and shit just because someone killed his wife, was trying to figure it out, and that he's trying to get to the bottom of it. But then later there's a cut scene. There's an end credit stinger, and we find out that he walks into this bar, meets Mila Kunis. But I'm wondering, like, because the bartender's like, well, welcome back. So I wonder if that means that he was in prison. But I still would have liked some more concrete indication that, yes, he went to prison, he paid his dues. And then, yeah, they sort of set up for a sequel that I don't think happened, because they show the leader of this pharmaceutical company. And right away I was like, they better get her, but they don't get her. But then they sort of set up for the next movie that they're going to try to get her in the next movie, but the next movie didn't happen, so it's one of those where they set up the sequel, and the sequel never happens. But yeah, that's all my notes on that movie. We're gonna be switching to the next movie, which is Hot Shot soon, but yeah, overall, not a bad movie, but not a good movie either. I think it's very okay. It had some things I liked about it, but it was like about half and half for me, honestly. Max Payne, I've said what I've wanted to say about it. It could have been a lot better, I think, in my opinion. A lot of people wanted it to be more like the game. I can't comment on that because I don't know the games. But I'm going to give it, honestly, straight up 5. That's how I feel about it. It was okay. For me, this isn't a very good review, but it sort of gives me that feeling of right down the middle. Not terrible, but not great. I half recommend it. If you're into this kind of thing, then maybe check it out. If you like action, crime, drama, movies about people trying to find out who killed their wife, then maybe you'll like this. Max Payne, 5 out of 10 ducks.